Powerballs are high-tech exercise devices that generate gyroscopic resistance. Baguazhang is an internal martial art drawn from the I Ching, or Book of Changes. I have found using the 8 basic palm forms of Baguazhang an effective approach to toning muscles with Powerballs. I'm John Barclay-Morton, and I'm here to share this approach with you. Please, friends, remember to mask up wherever appropriate. COVID came from bats in caves, a place humans lived for tens of thousands of years. That virus knows us all too well, and having found us again, we haven't seen the last of the tricks it has for infecting people. So stay safe out there while scientists work on defeating this thing. Using Powerballs demands muscle sensitivity. In the internal martial arts, this is called listening through the hands. I use the auto start version of the Diablo Evo Classic Powerball, and I wind both up and then get one going before I start the other. I'm not concerned with how fast I get them to spin. Instead, I want to synchronize the rotations of my wrists with movements of my arms and shoulders. So I want a medium speed that I can sustain. Standing arm exercises are often practiced in the horse stance. Picture yourself standing in the stirrups of a saddle on a horse. Your feet should be about shoulder width apart, and this is also the distance from the bottom of your foot to the top of your knee. Your pelvis is tilted forward and tucked in to straighten your lower back and let your upper body settle down onto your hip joints. The knees stay behind the toes and bow out a little as if around a horse. The arms are rounded and raised in front, with shoulders dropped and elbows down and relaxed. The hands are raised to about shoulder level and rounded gently open for the third of the 3 rounds: rounded legs, rounded arms, and rounded hands. Lightly tucking your chin in and up toward the base of your skull will straighten your spine where it runs through your neck. Each of the 8 arm and hand configurations we are using here are given the name of a trigram from the I Ching. They are Mountain Palm, Thunder Palm, Lake Palm, Wind Palm, Fire Palm, Heaven Palm, Earth Palm. To recap: Water Palm, Lake Palm, Thunder Palm, Wind Palm, Fire Palm, Heaven Palm, Mountain Palm, Water Palm, Earth Palm. Once you train the muscles in your forearms to spin Powerballs, you can do much more by extending that sensitivity from the forearms all the way up into the arms and then into the shoulders, so that the rotations of the wrists are synchronized with movements of the arms and shoulders. The Powerballs will spin at lower speeds, but this can be sustained for much longer so that the arms and the shoulders can get the full benefit of working with Powerballs. There are a lot of variations that can be explored when using Baguazhang to guide a Powerball exercise routine. Here's one quick example. Each of the palm forms in Baguazhang has its own characteristic variation of this martial art. For instance, I can pick the palm form for mountain and return to this palm form after each of the other palms, giving me 7 pairs of palm changes. I could practice each of these changes in succession, or I could concentrate on one for each day of the week. Here are a couple of good exercises to stretch the forearms and shoulders to promote well-rounded development. The first exercise is quite simple. In a horse stance, simply rotate the upward pointing forearms slowly back and forth on an axis running between the middle finger and the elbow. I usually practice this exercise in multiples of 12, with 36 to 48 being a minimum number of rotations I use, and 108 being the number I usually count toward. Here, you can also train your perception to pay attention to areas other than the center of your gaze by paying attention to the spaces on either side of your upraised arms. The second stretching exercise is called holding the teacups. This is an exercise that needs to be practiced slowly, with attention and sensitivity directed toward feeling the stretch of tendons and ligaments, which always requires a slower exercise than those directed toward the muscles. The idea here is to rotate the arms and the shoulders fully, while keeping the palms of the hands facing as directly upward as can be managed. Holding the palms forward, they are rotated inside and under the arm toward the back, before rotating upward to the outside as the elbows drop and the hands continue to rise and rotate over the head. Then, as the elbows continue to drop, the hands rotate back around to the front of the body and the whole process of movement begins again. I find that about 18 to 24 of these full rotations, done slowly, are sufficient to warm up and stretch the tendons and ligaments in my arms and shoulders. So here's the crazy thing about Powerballs. It turns out that muscle tone is increased primarily by bringing muscles to the point where they are approaching exhaustion. Not necessarily by exercising for a really long time, and not necessarily by using really heavy weights. Just by bringing the muscles nearer to the point of exhaustion, even if that only takes a couple of minutes. So what I found when using Powerballs to explore the 8 palm forms of Baguazhang is that I achieved unexpectedly good results quite quickly, just by synchronizing my arms and shoulders with my wrist movements while practicing these basic palm forms, and that it didn't take much time each day to do this. In fact, I could practice several times a day because it was actually fun. It's important, though, to give your muscles a chance to recover between periods of intense exercise. So plan on resting a day or two following a day or two of regular practice. Otherwise, micro tears and muscle fibers won't have a chance to heal, and you'll end up losing muscle strength instead of building muscle tone.